Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing okay today. So on today's live video and in my podcast today, I'm going to be discussing a little bit of information with Nicola. Nicola is currently one of my clients at the moment, and she's going through her weight loss journey at the moment, and she's been working really hard on her nutrition and her exercise and her running as well. And I thought it'd be just a great opportunity to discuss a little bit of information and topics around food relationships, and trying to make sure that we avoid any form of yo-yo dieting phases as well. And obviously, when I picked Nicola up as a client as well, we discussed a little bit of reasons why she wanted to get the results that she wanted to get, but also figuring out reasons what has happened before and trying not to let them happen again. Because obviously that plays a big role on people's goals if they've tried something before and it's affected their motivation to keep going with that as well. So I think it's important to make sure that we understand that any type of diet that we go on, we need to make sure it's something which fits and suits us as well. And obviously building that healthy relationships and understanding with nutrition as well, to get the best possible results that you want is very, very important. So thanks, Nicola, anyway, for jumping on today.
Hi.
Yeah, I hope you're doing all right today anyway. Thanks for jumping on. I think it's really, really helpful to just explain a little bit more about, the journey that you've been on in the past. So just tell me a little bit more about yourself anyway, and where you started off, what you've potentially tried in the past, and the goal that you're working towards now.
So I think I've always had some issue with weight from being a kid, and my earliest memory is probably my mum dragging me into the dietitian at the doctor's surgery when I was about 11, and having to do the traffic light system as a kid. And ever since then, I guess my weight, from being a young child to teenager, early adulthood, adult, my weight's always kind of peaked and dropped. And I've literally, if there's a diet that's out there, I swear to God, I'll have done it. So, we've done Slim Fast, which was shooting about in the 90s. We've done Herbalife. I've done Slim and World. I've done Atkins or low carb. The only thing I'd probably say that really works out of all of that for me was Atkins, or at least reducing carbs. I was probably at my heaviest in my early 20s when I tackled that one, and I was over 20 stone at the time, although I never looked it. I carry weight very well, lucky for me. But I went down to about 13 stone. So I lost about 7 or 8 stone there on that, and I was sort of ripping into the gym at the time, which was great. So I guess since then, my weight's just kind of went up and down. And whenever I felt like I've needed to try and shed some pounds, I've always reverted back to dropping the carbs, because that's historically what always worked for me. And all I've ever done up until recent years is just go to the gym. So I guess I could get away with doing that. It made me feel okay physically. But back in 2019, I cut the carbs again to try and lose weight. And I'm an avid runner now. I absolutely love running. I joined one of my local running clubs, the Knowsley Harriers, back in 2017, I think it was, 2018. And all I do now is run, and I very quickly realised that you can't cut carbs and expect to run and keep the pace up and have the stamina you've always got. It affected me badly, and that's really when I started looking for better nutritional guidance for, losing weight, but being able to fuel to run and to really look after yourself. Because one thing I did not want to compromise was my running, and you know that better than anyone, Dan. Yeah, we've had 100%. Fights about my running. I won't sacrifice it for anything, and I'm really happy with yourself. I've found something which is like a happy medium. I'm on a plan now which is working, and it's not interfering with running, so I'm delighted with that.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned before is like the low carb thing. It depends on the person themselves, and as I say, I always say to myself, like, you know, you need to be consuming carbohydrates, but if low carb really works for you, then it's fine. But it's the amount of carbohydrates people potentially maybe take away. And I mean, like, Atkins is like it is like, it's like keto, isn't it? It's like crazy low carbohydrate. So you're having to like count vegetables as a carbohydrate, which I honestly find is like, how are you supposed to go shopping on, like, you'd spend like nearly 2 hours in the shops trying to figure out what foods, you know, contain carbohydrates and not. And I think it's the extent and the pressure that you put yourself under. Low carb can work, but it's the amount, isn't it? And as I say, we've worked on this a little bit more, and we've figured out, you know, a happy medium for you. As you mentioned before, it's like we fluctuate the carbs and we relate them to your running as well. So it's like, you know, if you have got like a long run or a really intense run or something like that, when we can adjust things a little bit more to suit your needs of where you are and fluctuate these things. And I think it's looking at that sustainable way. And you mentioned with like all of these diets that you've been on, they're like trends, aren't they? They come into fashion. It's like vegan came into fashion a little bit more, like, and obviously a lot of people are going vegan for, you know, like health reasons of sort of their food beliefs and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine. And the environments and stuff like that, if you wanted to like go, I don't know, like vegetarian and stuff like that, plant-based foods is perfectly fine for your own food beliefs. But it's like being able to do it for the right reasons is important, and not just doing it because it's a common trend that's coming up as well. So the fact that you did like slim fast, that's like dead and buried now, but it's virtually the same as like a Huel shake or Herbalife shake. Herbalife's just started going out of fashion now. It's like Huel, and it's sort of all these little trends that are propping in as well. People are going for, which is just a different brand that's been brought out. I mean, like Slimming World is a very common one as well. So what do you think on that? How did that like sort of start off with you with regards to Slimming World?
So I joined Slimming World in 2015, not long after I had my little boy Charlie, because I didn't put on a great deal of weight during pregnancy, but I put on a shed load of weight after it, with all the midnight feeds and everything, and just eating and drinking at unhealthy hours. And I was ill, very ill after I had him. I wasn't very mobile, and I just ate quick things. I lived off cereal and toast because I couldn't walk too much and stuff. So the weight piled on after I had him. And I joined Slimming World. I got a leaflet through the door or something, join your local Slimming World. And I thought, you know what, we'll give this a bash. So I went along. My mum was great. She came, she wanted to lose some weight. So we used to go, and then the neighbour came, and we all went together to Slimming World. And it was the social aspect of it on a Tuesday night was great. But to begin with, you know, when I learned how the plan worked exactly, I thought, well, this is actually quite good. You can, you know, you can eat meat, you can eat veg, you can eat potatoes, you can eat pasta. You know, they tell you can have as much of that stuff as you want, but at the time you're absorbed into this hard sell of how great it can be and you can lose weight. And then there's people in the group going, oh, I just ate pasta till the cows came home and I lost like 6 pounds this week. And you know, these people are getting the bell rang for them and everyone's cheering, and you really do get I'm going to say sucked into it, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but you just believe that this diet is going to be amazing for you. And to be fair, I think I went to Slimming World for a while. I can't remember how long, but I would be so angry when I religiously stuck to that diet all week. Nothing happened. And I'm being told, oh, you didn't lose weight this week because you exercised. You didn't lose weight this week because it's your star week. I'm like, is it my star week every week? We don't have star weeks every week. But it was the first thing, if you were a woman, it was the first thing that you were, you know, it was accused because you didn't lose weight, it's your star week. And then if not, it was, oh, it's because you've exercised, you've done loads of exercise this week. And I just found the reasons as to why, you know, I soon realised this lady that's in the room, you know, your health ambassador or whatever she's called, you know, she doesn't actually know what she's talking about. She's selling, it's just another pyramid scheme, right? She's selling a plan, she's making money, she's there to make money out of you. Buy the bars, you know, buy the magazine, let's have a raffle, let's sign up extra members, things like that. But when it doesn't work and you want to know why it doesn't work, because you have stuck to that plan, you've written down your your food diary for the week and she looks at it, you know, she doesn't know. And that's when I started getting frustrated, because I thought, well, if I'm going to spend money every week coming here, you know, you're spending like £6 a week on your weekly membership. If it doesn't work, I want to know why it doesn't work. And I need to speak to somebody that's actually educated in nutrition to tell me why it's not working. And, you know, since then, I worked with a sports nutritionalist when I started marathon training at the tail end of 2019 and in 2020. And I learned quite a lot from him, and I've learned a lot, you know, subsequently with yourself. And, you know, guess what? You can't eat pasta till the cows come home. You can't stuff your face with potatoes. And, you know, some of the things they say, it's like you can have as many or eat as many oranges as you want because they're free foods, but don't make fresh orange out of it. You can't drink fresh orange juice with an orange. Why? You know, it makes no sense. But at the time when you're doing this, you believe in it and you're seeing people around you doing it. And I think, you know, it's hard to then detach yourself away from it. But when you actually look, it's not until you do that and you get the right guidance and you look back, you think, actually, this is a con. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people, it probably does, but for me, it really, you know, I lost some weight at the beginning, plateaued, that was it. It didn't work well at all. And if you're not losing weight, you're not the poster girl for Slimming World.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think with any type of diet, like, you know, because obviously you've got like a diet plan, like popular diet plan, and it's just given out to thousands of people. You know, there's always going to be people like that get amazing results and it changes their life with it. But there's also a lot of people that go back to it time and time again and don't get the results that they want and have a really poor relationship with food, or, you know, or with the scales as well. And I mean, I honestly find that it's obviously they're going to be promoted. The people who've got the results are always going to be promoted. And, you know, it is, at the end of the day, it is a business. And I totally understand that some diets out there actually are a little bit helpful. I mean, I think Slimming World has got some positive aspects to it. And I'm quite a holistic based person. I'm not just going to be just telling people, you know, oh, you don't want to go on that diet, it's terrible and it's awful and stuff. I will give them the positives and negatives about it. So the fact that like Slimming World is, you know, really good for the like community base is massive. It's like the support that you get, like, and the fact that you're held accountable on a regular basis. And like if you look over on like Instagram and stuff like that, probably the support groups on Facebook I don't necessarily know, but over Instagram everyone's supporting each other out, and I totally understand that. And it promotes health foods, which is great. You know, the fact that you're consuming complex carbohydrates, high in fiber foods, vegetables, protein, all this thing, amazing. But as you mentioned before, it's the clarity and the understanding, and if people are following a plan and it's not necessarily working for them, they need to understand why something's not working for them, so they have the understanding and they don't feel confused, and they're not necessarily plateauing with their weight and not knowing why it's happening. And I think that's probably one thing. It's the with Slimming World, it's just the confusion. Yeah. More than anything else. If people don't have the confusion and they have nutrition made simple and effective and not complicated, then people go further with their goals a little bit more. And as I say, fair play, if anyone's out there who's listening in today and it's Slimming World's work really well for you, then fair enough, keep going. And if you get results consistently, brilliant. But if it's something that's not worked for you the once, it's potentially not a good reason to go back again and again, which I generally tend to see quite a bit. I don't know about yourself, but it's something that I will try it again and try it again. And it's important to make sure that we, you know, if one method's not necessarily working, and it's important to change things around and trial things. You know, we all fail at something at some point, but I think failure is how we grow, because we find out what works best for us. As you said, you've tried so many different diets now, and all of a sudden now these things are slowly starting to get you where you want to be.
I think the thing as well, that's the thing, I've tried so many different diets. The one thing that's actually working for me is just good education. And there's not enough good education out there. I had to pay someone money to learn how to eat. That's just shocking. What a shocking thing to ever admit, but it's true. because I didn't know how to eat properly. Now I do, and it's working well. And people don't need faddy diets. They don't need magic shakes or special tablets or anything like that. They just need to be well educated. And I wish the resource was out there more for people.
Yeah.
But it's not, unfortunately. But if you're educated on how to eat properly, it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the fad diet as well. I've brought this up in plenty of podcasts before. I've tried keto diet before. I've took away all the foods that I love eating. I've done big calorie deficits, and I've tried these things. But as I say, I did that when I was a personal trainer, not necessarily a nutritionist. So I knew that I needed that little bit more support and education, and that's why I got myself educated for 2 years through my nutrition uni. So I had to educate myself, and I think that's the thing is people don't think that way. They think, "I'll just give me a plan, just tell me what to do," and it's not about that. It's about listening into what your problems are and what you face, what you've tried again. And I said I'm going to be bringing this up in my 5-day challenge as well, but figuring out why you wanting to reach a goal. And having a purpose behind that, and what's happened and what you've tried before is important, really. So it isn't, as I say, education just 100% works, because when you start to know about nutrition, you learn about it, you just make conscious decisions, and it's like in the back of your mind then, because you sort of know what you need to be doing. Oh, I don't need to try this, or I need to try that. And I know we've discussed this, quite a bit, haven't we, regularly in coaching calls.
Yeah.
What about, obviously, because you mentioned a little bit before about you've tried all like the shake diets and stuff like that. You've tried Slim and World and stuff. Did you say that you started up in the gyms and stuff like that, and you tried like documents and like was it like a nutrition plan that you tried, or was it just exercise?
No, it was just exercise at the gym. So joined the gym, got a PT, and they just gave me a program to work when I was in the gym. I was going to the gym like 6 days a week, and I'd train with my PT at least once a week. It didn't really give me any food advice, just for exercise. So that's when I started doing Atkins. And I think because I was in the gym, there wasn't a lot of cardio going on. It was just more resistance and strength and conditioning. So I could get away with not eating a lot of carbs then. So yeah, between all of that work and obviously a very low carb diet, I lost like 7 to 8 stone, which was fantastic at the time.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's the keeping it off. I was probably 22 when I done that, so I'm 39 now, so it was a long time ago. And ever since, really, yeah, my weight has just gone up and down, up and down. I've been huge. I've been a lot smaller. Right now, I'd probably say I'm somewhere in between. I don't look too bad now, thanks to you. I've lost over 2 stone. And it'll be great if I can lose some more. But I'm looking much better. I'm never going to be a thin person. My doctor told me I'm big boned. Take what you want from that. He said I'll never go, he said for me, he goes, I would never go below 12 stone for you, because I think you'd possibly look unhealthy. As I said at the start of this, I carry weight well, and I don't look the weight that I am. And I think if I ever told people what weight I was, they'd be gobsmacked. But so I don't want to lose like loads of weight. If I was to be the right weight for my height, etc., I should probably be about 8.5 stone, and that I think I genuinely would look ill. But for me, it's not about the number on the scales. It's about how I look and how I feel. And right now, I'm looking and feeling much better than I have in a long time.
Yeah. So what have you always had a good relationship with the scales then? Because obviously you mentioned that that's not necessarily like something that you focus too much on.
No, the relationship with the scales has not been a good one my whole life, because yeah, you do stand on the scales and you do look at them and you know you're too heavy, you know you need to lose weight. But when I start losing the weight, it's not so much the scales. I couldn't really care less what the scales say. It's about how I look and feel. But yeah, I will stand on them, because standing on them shows you that you're losing weight. or at least that's what I used to think before you told me to start measuring myself, which is something that I never really done, because I would stand on the scales and get upset when, you know, for some random reason I've put 2 pounds on when I didn't do anything. And as you've explained to me, again, all about education, you need to eat 3,500 calories extra to put on a pound. So did you eat an extra 7,000 calories yesterday? No, actually, I was in a calorie deficit yesterday, so it's not weight. But I would stand on the scales and see I've put 2 pounds on in a day, and you know, want to kill myself. I want to starve myself the next day because for some random reason I've just put 2 pounds on. So yeah, I normally I'll say it's not about the number on the scales. If I'm losing weight, if I can, you know, now if I can see it and feel it, I'm generally quite happy. I don't care what number the scales say at the end of the day. It's about how I feel. But in my whole life, no, I've not had a good relationship with the scales because I just keep seeing them going up all the time.
Yeah, I think as well that you mentioned about the keto diet, and I think sorry, not the keto diet, the Atkins diet, just they're like virtually similar, aren't they? They're like crazy low carbs. But that's the thing, what gets people buying with these them type of diets, because they're crazy low carbohydrate. It's like you go on a keto diet or you go on an Atkins diet, you could lose, like within a couple of weeks, you could lose a stone in weight. Like it's like it can drop off, and it can consistently drop off for a period of time. Because we know, obviously, you know, 1 gram of carbohydrates, you're probably going to be holding like 4 to 5 grams of water weight, maybe. And it's that understanding that, you know, the scales, if you drop weight really quickly, it's not going to be body fat, as we know, 3,500 if you were to over consume, but it goes the other way as well. It's like that's the thing. But I understand it does increase a little bit of buy-in with people, and it does help people motivate themselves. But as I say, it depends on that bigger picture. And sometimes when things start to plateau, you start to push yourself a little bit more. And I think that's probably a reason why you lost so much weight, but then it went back up again, was the fact that pressure of that extremely low carb, you were getting the results, it was increasing buy-in, you were consistently working because you wanted that result. But then at the end of it, it's like, you know, we live in a world where carbohydrates, refined products, they're all readily available and easily available for you to consume. And then once we start to push that to a certain extent, and we've put pressure on ourselves and we took things away that we really enjoy eating, we may not think about it at the time, and maybe in a little bit of denial. It's like, oh, I don't need it, I'm okay. And then all of a sudden, like it just becomes more and more desirable. And then that's like, we hit that point and it's like, where do we go now? And like, that's where people don't know. They don't know where to go. It's like, they always think of that end point, and it's like, it's not, there should never be an end point. But then obviously, if you're going on things which don't relate to the foods that you enjoy eating, you actually do really like consuming carbohydrates. Because I know that you like consuming carbohydrates, because I obviously I work with you. But it's about making sure that we find that correct balance and that right method that works for you. So you're kind of like happy to do this, and it's not putting that pressure on you. You can have that little treat once in a while and stuff like that, and build that healthy relationship with food, which I think is so important. So getting across to people can be really, really difficult as well. As I say, any person that I generally tend to pick up, I may have to build that relationship with them over time. But I think it's so important to make sure that we know that we need to find that right diet that works for us. Yeah,
absolutely, so important. So how exactly then? I mean, obviously you've worked with me, but when you're working with others, how exactly do you pull them away from the yo-yo diet and from maybe something so rigid that we know? How I don't want to say sell it, because it's maybe not the right word, but how do you show them and prove to them that you can actually do this and it works?
Yeah. So what I generally tend to do with people is to figure out like the reasons why that didn't work, that diet. So, you know, the fact that it could be something lifestyle that's affected the yo-yo diet and patterns. It may not necessarily just be the food choices that they choose, and it's figuring out and just pinpointing the reason why that's affected them. I always think always know your why of why you're doing something, but also know your why of why something didn't work out for you, which is important. So I try to figure out that with clients, is because they don't realize they you know, I pick them up and they're sort of like, they just think it didn't work for them, and it's like, oh, it was the diet that didn't work, it wasn't me. And they sort of like, sorry, they blame themselves, not necessarily the diet. That's what I meant to say. And it's important to know that it wasn't the diet, it wasn't you, it was the diet that didn't work for you. So it's important to figure out why that diet didn't work. And it could be the fact that it could be a lifestyle factor, it could be social factor, it could be your family, it could be work commitments, the fact that you've not, you know, you've got a busy life and you're not necessarily making things practical and convenient for yourself. It could be the fact that you've just took, you know, too many foods away that you enjoy eating. All of these little things, which I think are really, really important to understand and figure out the reasons why something's happened, and tell them why that's happened. Then they understand and they go, okay, yeah, well, I do accept that. I know the reasons why now, and that's something that I don't want to go down again. I don't want to go that road again, and get the results that I want to get to. And it's just trying to build up on them habits and try to reduce that from ever happening again as well. So that's probably, I would say, one of the big points is looking back at what they've done before, and try and look at things that they need to be doing. And I usually give them solutions for that to help them out.
Good.
Yeah.
That's so much for me.
So I hope that makes a little bit of sense there for people as well. Gives them a little bit more of an understanding of how I help people. But so what's working for you now, Nicola, at the moment in time? Because obviously you've mentioned all of these things about like what you've tried out in the past and what hasn't worked. What's working for you right now?
I think it's the healthy balance. It's not cutting things out. It's about you know, being able, as you said, being able to have that treat when you want it. Not necessarily have to have them every day, but you know, having that treat meal once, twice a week, you know, whatever you've sort of factored into my plan. But it's known that it's, you know, be good during the week, because this meal is going to come over a weekend. You're going to enjoy it. That's the thing as well, actually. It's a really big thing I wanted to say. You appreciate food a lot more, not restricting it. But like when you don't have something during the week, when that comes, you know, if it's a Friday night or a Saturday night or whatever night you're having it, but when you do actually have it, you enjoy it a lot more. Like my husband will tell you, during lockdown there, you know, we just literally lived off Uber Eats, because they just keep sending us vouchers for money off, right? It was like, we were going to buy food from tonight because it's cheaper to use Uber Eats than it is to cook a meal. That's what lockdown became for us. Yeah. And we ate so much takeout, it was unbelievable. And we didn't enjoy it. It was nice, don't get me wrong, but we didn't enjoy it as much. Now when you don't have it as much, or you know, you're just, you know, having it once a week or something, you enjoy it much more. The plan that you've got me on at the moment, obviously, I'm not eating carbohydrates at the moment at lunchtime, but I'm having them at dinner time because this plan's working better for me. And I'm absolutely enjoying my carbohydrates in the evening now, because I'm having them like once a day. I'm having them with my evening meal, whether it be a potato, whether it be rice, whether, you know, it's pasta, whatever it may be. You know, there's not a specific carb I can't have. I can have whatever carb I want, and obviously in moderation. I'm not going TT with the portion size, but I enjoy it a lot more. I think I said to you the other week there, after I had done a Sunday run, I was like, I cannot wait to eat my dinner tonight. I'm having chicken, I'm having potatoes, and I couldn't wait for that meal, and I enjoyed it so much more. That's really working for me as well, because I'm appreciating my food more, I'm enjoying it more, and because I enjoy the food more, I enjoy this, I don't want to call it a diet, I'm enjoying this eating lifestyle more. And I think it's good as well for me. I'm not a person that should probably eat carbohydrates in every meal. It doesn't quite agree with me and my metabolism and everything. So you know, it's good for me not to have them at lunchtime, and I'm starting to become a little bit more flexible with food that I never really ate before, or never tried before, I wouldn't entertain, and now I am. So I'm trying new things. So I'm actually enjoying food a lot more than I ever did when I was just stuffing whatever I could in my face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you mentioned there before as well is like carbs can work, taking carbs away, like to a certain extent can really help, because, you know, a lot of the people that like generally tend to consume a normal diet will consume quite a, like your macro contents of the daily amount that you would usually consume. You know, I'd probably say at least around about 50% on average is what people would generally tend to consume through carbohydrates. So if you are cutting them out slightly, then it is going to make a bit of a difference to people's goals. But it depends. I mean, I'm quite high carb. I'm low fat, high carb, because I kind of like, I know that fats I'd still need to have them in because I think they're sufficient for me. But you know, 9 calories per gram of fat, so there's more calories per gram. So the more fat I have, and obviously I can't eat a great volume of it then, and I'm like the world's worst for like feeling hungry, and I need to eat all the time and eat large portions of food. So I know that I need to make sure that I consume carbs, consume enough protein to keep me fuller for longer, but then go low fat. So I get that. I totally find that it's just figuring out what works for you. But you mentioned then about that delayed reward, which is so important, that you really look forward to consuming whatever type of meal it was. It doesn't necessarily need to be like just general carbohydrates. It could be just a treat as well. And I think that I obviously have pizza every Friday, and I just look forward to it so much, because I try to have like set times and routines of having treats and having them in, because when you start to set times and routines of having certain treats in, it makes you look forward to it. It's not putting too much pressure on the journey as well. And you just enjoy the process a little bit more, and it just tastes so much better when you're not having it all the time, which I think is really important to have really in implemented in. And it could be any type of processed food that I think about as well, because a lot of the time when people consume processed food, they may not consume it for the right reasons. And I'm sure this has happened to yourself and so many other people in the past, is they get a little bit stressed out, or they don't necessarily feel great, or they've been rushing around all day and they've not really eaten much food, and all of a sudden it's like, I need something straight away, and then they go to the cupboard and grab like a chocolate bar or a bag of crisps just to make them feel better. And it is that thing, isn't it, of like, we can't do that's not the right way of consuming treats and palatable snacks. It's about making sure that we set things in place in our minds, and we have this routine. And routines are always going to get broken, and it's important to figure out why that happened and change them around. But having that treat once in a while and planning it in is probably the best way to build a healthy relationship with food and indulge once in a while.
Yeah, I don't even think it's to do necessarily with treat foods as well. It's just, even, she said, normal foods. When you've done every diet going, you do Atkins, you don't get to eat carbohydrates, that's it, it's gone. If you do Herbalife, you don't have a breakfast, you don't have a lunch, you have a milkshake, and then you have one meal in the evening. So with all these sort of faddy diets that are out there, you take away so much options. And the good thing with this is that you actually have options. You don't have to take any, even, I'm talking just normal food, you don't have to take anything away that you want to eat. If whatever you're going to have for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, you can have it. There's no restriction. Obviously, it's down to you how you build your day when it comes to food. But and I think that's the thing. I mean, for me, being able to do or to stick to an eating plan which is healthy, which is going to help me with my running, which is going to help me lose weight. And hey, guess what? I can still eat a potato with my dinner. Amazing, because the amount of dinners I had that never had a potato on the plate, it was just literally meat and veg. So to be able to eat potato, even not like in large volume, just to have a few little baby potatoes on my plate, what a treat that is. And again, it just makes eating a lot more enjoyable. So it's a hell of a much better option. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, I think like what we just spoke about today with regards to that, I'm sure is really helpful, and it just gives people a little bit more of an understanding of, being able to figure out a diet that works for you. And, if something hasn't necessarily worked for you in the past and you've done things, it's just one of them things. We've all done it. I've been there plenty of times before. I kind of know now what I need to be doing and what works well for me. Yourself, it works well for you. If you're at a position at the moment where something isn't necessarily working well for you, it's fine. It's one of them things. You just accept it, draw a line, and move on to the next chapter, figuring out what's going to be best for you, and figure out, what things have happened in the past. Try and not go back to them, but figure out why it happened. As I mentioned before, figure out why that happened and why you had, the end date, and why this happened is a very important part of the process, because when you know reasons why that's happened and how that's affected you, you don't want to go back to it again, because you'll know why and you'll try and avoid it as much as possible. And you think about the whys of where you want to get to with your goal, feeling happy and confidence with the way you look and feel, whatever it is. Weight loss is like thing that we want, but it's usually something behind the weight loss that we want as well. It's like, there's always another avenue that we want to work towards to get the goal that you want. And I was the same. I went through a transformation journey over COVID. I put a little bit of weight on. I just accepted it at the time. I was a nutritionist at the time, but I say we went through an uncertain time, and I probably consumed slightly more processed foods than I would do normally, and our routines were all over the place. But I give myself like around about 6 to 8 months to work at my nutrition, and drew the line, and then just move back on board with it. And I think that's important, to have that positive mindset to move yourself forward with things.
And that's exactly when I found you, for the exact same reasons.
Yeah.
That being injured.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's another reason you were injured, weren't you, at one point? And then you started doing your strength movements and stuff like that, and then you got back into your running as well. So I presume, obviously, I know we spoke a bit about it was all around nutrition today anyway, but that strength work is come on really nicely for you, hasn't it? I suppose you've been working on that quite a lot, and it's got you stronger in your runs and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's been great, because when I first met you, I was injured, and obviously you were saying that we done your 10-day plan, so there was obviously certain things that you wanted us to do, and I says, well, I can't run because I'm injured. So there was a lot of the sort of physical aspect of it I couldn't do, but then you gave me exercises that you said, go and do these. So that's when I really started focusing more on strength and conditioning. And I think it was a little while before I started running with yourself. Sorry, my little boy's talking. It was a little while working with yourself before I could start running again. And I've never been injured before, and I was out the game for like 3 months, and it broke my heart. And I literally consoled myself with dairy milk and Haribo and lockdown, and just put on like a shed load of weight. So it was when obviously I knew that I needed to do something, I needed to do it properly, and I started working with you, got on the right eating plan, started the strength and conditioning work, got to a stage where I could start running again. I was literally back at ground zero with running. I think the longest distance I ever ran was 23 miles, because I was marathon training last year, and they never happened because of COVID. I couldn't even run 5 kilometers. It took me over 45 minutes. I stopped a few times, but I'm at a stage now. I just ran 20 miles on a Sunday. I'm marathon training again, because I've got 2 within a week in October. Yes, losing over 2 stone has probably helped me with my running a lot, because obviously I'm moving less weight than I was before. The strength and conditioning exercises that you're giving me are helping great, because it's obviously working on my core. I've got some physio stuff that I'm still doing for the hip flexor to make sure that it doesn't get strained again. But everything's just literally gone hand in hand, and had a really good positive effect on my running, which I'm really happy about.
No, I've definitely seen that. I've definitely noticed a big change in not just like the sort of the changes obviously within your body, your transformation that you wanted to work towards, but the fact that it's helping you with your performance as well. Like, you mentioned as well, I always say this, we review everything. We don't just review your measurements as well. It's like your energy levels, your sleep pattern, how you feeling on a regular, your feelings of well-being. It plays a big role as long as you feel happy. And I always say that to clients, like, and I speak to them every month, and I'm like, are you happy? Are you, do you feel like it's going in the right direction? It's just a simple question like that, because if they're happy, then obviously I am as well. So yeah, and I honestly find that we're definitely getting there with the results now. Obviously you did 90 days, now you moved on to the next phase and stuff like that. So, things are moving in the right direction, Nicola. So yeah, I'll leave it there for today. I think it's been a really, really good chat about things, and I'm hoping that a lot of people listening into this basically took a lot of pointers ahead of maybe changing their journey around and helping them move forwards with their goal a little bit more. So yeah, Nicola, have you got any other questions at all?
No, I'm all good, thank you.
Okay, well, I will leave it there for today. Thanks a lot, guys, if you're listening today. If you have any other questions at all with regards to any of the information on like yo-yo dieting, your relationship with food, any diets that you've tried out in the past at all that haven't necessarily worked, feel free to DM me. If you really enjoyed this podcast or YouTube or live video, feel free to share it along as well. Tag people into my Facebook group. And I will speak to you all soon. Take care now.